My mother looked directly at my daughter and said the words that cut through the room like a knife. "You're not my granddaughter. Get out." It happened on Christmas morning, at the exact moment everyone else was unwrapping gifts. My daughter Lily froze, her small fingers still holding the edge of a ribbon on a present she had been so excited about only seconds earlier. The entire room went silent. My sister blinked in shock. My brother stared at the wall. My father shifted in his chair like he suddenly needed to be anywhere but in that living room. And I stood there thinking, this is it. This is the moment everything falls apart. My name is Elena. I'm 37 years old, a nurse, a single mother, and the mom of a little girl who never deserved any of this. Ever since my divorce 3 years ago, family gatherings had become colder, tighter, harder to navigate. It wasn't just that I wasn't married anymore. It wasn't even that I wasn't living the kind of glamorous lifestyle my siblings loved to show off. The real problem, the thing that hung in the air like smoke every time we walked in the door, was that my daughter wasn't one of them. Not in their eyes. She wasn't blood. She wasn't a real grandchild. She wasn't worthy of the same love or the same space. And I, for the longest time, believed that if I just worked harder, if I showed up to every holiday, every birthday, every event, if I smiled more, agreed more, stayed quiet more, maybe they would accept her. Maybe, eventually, they would accept us. I was wrong. That Christmas morning had begun harmlessly. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon rolls, kids ran around with peppermint candy canes, and my sister yelled about the ham burning like she did every year. But tension began to creep in when my mother started handing out presents. Bright, shiny packages went to every single child in the room, except Lily. I saw my daughter try to hide her disappointment, folding her hands in her lap, watching her cousins tearing open boxes filled with dolls and Lego sets and matching holiday pajamas. Then she spotted a small silver-wrapped present under the tree and reached for it. Before she could touch it, my mother snatched it away. "That is not for you," she snapped. Lily blinked and whispered, "Why not?" And that was when my mother chose to say the cruelest thing she had ever said. "Because you're not really family. You are not my granddaughter." Those words echoed across the carpeted living room and landed like a slap. The cousins stopped laughing. The adults stared at their feet. Nobody defended her. Nobody defended me. Lily's face crumpled, and she ran down the hallway, crying. I followed her and found her in the upstairs bathroom, trembling, trying so hard to be quiet. She looked up at me with huge, wet eyes and whispered, "Mommy, why doesn't Grandma love me?" I didn't know how to answer. Not because I didn't know the truth, but because saying it out loud would break her heart all over again. When I went back downstairs, hoping to gather our things quickly, I overheard something that made my stomach twist. My mother was talking to my aunt in the kitchen. "She's not blood. I'm done pretending she is." That was when everything fell into place. All the birthday parties we mysteriously weren't invited to, all the family photo sessions we found out about later on social media, all the times my mother insisted the cousins wanted a siblings-only sleepover, conveniently excluding Lily. For years, I had been telling myself that I was overthinking, that maybe it wasn't intentional, that maybe my mother simply forgot to tell me things. But no, this was intentional cruelty, and it had been happening for years. And yet, shockingly, the Christmas incident wasn't even the last betrayal. On New Year's dinner, the adults were seated at the main dining table set with my mother's good china. My daughter walked toward an empty seat next to her cousins, but my mother put a hand on Lily's shoulder and steered her toward the den. "She can eat in there," she announced loudly. "Let her watch cartoons while we have adult conversation." I said firmly, "She's 8, not a toddler." My mother glared and muttered, "Don't ruin the evening, Elena." So I took my plate, went to the den, and sat with my daughter. Through the walls, I could hear them laughing, planning spring break trips, talking about upcoming events, none of which included us. Then came the church incident, which still makes my chest tighten. After service, my mother proudly introduced her grandchildren to a group of church friends. She went down the line, my sister's twins, my brother's daughter, smiling broadly. Then she reached Lily, hesitated, pursed her lips and said, "And this is Elena's child." Not her granddaughter, not family, just a child belonging to me, like I had brought a stranger to church. Lily heard it. She didn't cry, she didn't ask questions, but I saw something dim in her eyes. But the worst betrayal came from someone I never expected, my own brother. He called asking if I could babysit his kids for the weekend. I said yes, thinking Lily would enjoy spending time with her cousins. "Actually," he said, "can you get a sitter for Lily? I want my kids to have quality time with family. Unlike Lily." I hung up without a word. Something inside me snapped. That night, I began gathering evidence. Screenshots of messages, photos of events we'd been left out of, texts from cousins apologizing for not inviting Lily because Grandma said it's better if she doesn't come. I saved it all. Not to start a fight, but because a day was coming when silence would no longer protect my daughter. And while all this cruelty was happening, Lily was quietly thriving in ways my family never bothered to notice. She had won 3 school art competitions. She had a short story published in the district's Young Writers magazine. Her art teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, told me that she was one of the most gifted students she had taught in 20 years. I saved all of that too. Her drawings, her certificates, her teacher notes. My daughter was brilliant. My family was simply blind. Unexpectedly, help started coming from places I didn't expect. Mrs. Rodriguez gently told me one afternoon, "Elena, I'd like to nominate Lily for the State Young Artist Program. She deserves a place where her talent is appreciated." My closest friend Sarah, who had gone through something similar with her stepson, offered to help support Lily emotionally. Even my sister began to question things after witnessing one particularly cold comment from our mother. She pulled me aside and whispered, "Maybe Mom's going too far. Maybe someone needs to say something." Meanwhile, my mother continued treating her behavior as if it were some kind of triumph. She boasted to neighbors about her real grandchildren. She made passive remarks about how relieved she was to stop pretending that Lily was included. I realized that the moment to stay quiet had passed. I asked my mother to meet with me privately at her house. When she opened the door, she froze. Mrs. Rodriguez and my sister were already sitting in the living room. "What is this?" she demanded. I placed a thick folder on the coffee table. "This is everything you've done." I laid out the screenshots, messages saying not to invite Lily to family events, photos from gatherings we never knew about, texts where they discussed my daughter like she was a burden. My mother tried to wave it away, saying, "You're being dramatic." But then my sister, to my shock, said quietly, "No, she's not." My mother stiffened. "She isn't blood. I can't help how I feel." I looked at her and said, "Then let me show you who you've been rejecting." And I opened Lily's portfolio, her artwork, her awards, her published story, letters from teachers praising her creativity and kindness. I told my mother, while you've been rejecting her, she has been shining. Mrs. Rodriguez added softly, "Lily is extraordinary. What you've done to her is heartbreaking." For the first time in years, my mother's face faltered. I didn't know she was that talented," she whispered. "I didn't know she didn't finish the sentence. I looked her directly in the eyes and said, "You didn't know because you never tried." My sister finally spoke. "Mom, this has to stop. Lily is family." But I knew in that moment that even if my mother begged for forgiveness, something had shifted forever. My daughter deserved better. So I stood up, took the folder, and walked out. And this time, I didn't look back. In the months that followed, the silence from my mother no longer hurt. It felt like freedom. Lily attended art camp, made new friends who celebrated her creativity, and grew more confident in her abilities. We started building new traditions with people who truly cared for us. Friends, teachers, neighbors, people who chose us willingly. My daughter learned that family is not defined by DNA, but by love, kindness, and presence. And I learned that I never needed my family's approval to raise my daughter with joy. Today, when I watch her paint with bright colors and soft humming, I know we made it. We walked through fire and came out stronger. And if you've ever been pushed out by the people who were supposed to love you the most, sometimes the family you build can lift you higher than the one you're born into. You are not alone. Your story matters, and you deserve to be seen.